Welcome to the High Value Sales Show of Eversprint.com. I'm Malcolm Louie, the managing member of Eversprint, and today we're speaking with Anthony Tivnan, the president of Magellan Jets, a provider of national and international charter jet flights and jet memberships. Welcome to the show, Anthony.
Malcolm, thanks for having me.
Anthony, you grew your company's revenue from $19.2 million in 2014 to $38 million in 2017, a 98% increase. And in 2018, you hit around $38 million. Before we talk about how you grew your company so fast, can you briefly share what your company does beyond my quick intro and how your company differs from the competition?
Sure, absolutely. So what we actually do is we have three business lines. We do on-demand charter, which provides customers with the ability to reserve and schedule on-demand charter flights. So that's on a trip-by-trip basis. We also provide customers with jet memberships, which allow them to purchase increments in terms of hours of aircraft on 9 different aircraft types. For example, you could purchase 25 hours on a Challenger 300 or 50 hours on a Citation 10. So we offer 9 different aircraft, starting at a Hawker 400 XP, which is a light jet, all the way up to the 14-passenger Gulfstream 450. And then the third business line is we also help and consult our customers with either aircraft acquisitions or sometimes selling their aircraft.
All right. Now, do you own your aircraft?
We do not. We own 0 aircraft.
Okay. And how do you categorize where you are on the spectrum of aircraft size, speed, luxury?
Sure. And actually, to just go back to the second piece of your question, which was how do we differ? And you know, the major differentiator for Magellan Jets is, you know, we really work as consultants with our customers. And we sit on the same side of the table with our customers and really understand what their needs for private aviation are. You know, is it business? Is it personal? Are these missions for skiing trips, which are going to have to utilize a different type of aircraft than a golf trip, or or a business trip where certain amenities on an airplane are really going to vary depending upon the type of trip. And also, call out times, how soon do they schedule out their flights? And that's really the reason, where I talk about our different business lines. It's, some customers, an on-demand charter flight is a perfectly good fit for their needs. Whereas somebody who flies 25 hours and above annually might want to have a more consistent approach to that, which would be a jet membership. And then some of our clients, we actually really provide solutions for life, is what we call it, where we have customers that come in and, they may start with us on an on-demand charter flight. And as their needs evolve and grow, then they might look at a jet membership with us. And then at some point we have certain customers who then want to actually purchase an aircraft. So we provide really all 3 of those business lines, which is very different from most of the companies in the industry. So it's, we work more as consultants with our customers in making sure that, whichever one of those solutions, we want to make sure that it's, it's a good fit for their portfolio.
Right. So you help customers potentially, at the very beginning, it sounds like a nice funnel, right? You have people who just want to fly a charter now and then on demand, those who fly regularly. Now, do you say it's 25 hours per month or 25 hours per year regularly?
Yes, so 25 per year
Okay.
is where we really look at a membership with customers. And,
Okay.
Again, it really varies from customer to customer. And that's really where it's important, for our consultants to be well versed in the different areas of the industry, because we do have charter customers that fly, 100 hours with us annually.
Hmm.
And it's just that maybe it might be their geographic locations that they travel to, their call out times, or certain variables that just charter might be a better solution for them. But certainly once a customer starts flying 25 hours plus, you at least want to engage in the conversation, because if they're doing it regularly, sometimes jet membership can just be an easier way to do that, in terms of knowing what type of aircraft is always going to arrive, having that ability to have a fixed price. Our jet members, they have a guaranteed aircraft anywhere in the U.S. within 8 hours notice. And in Europe, it's a guarantee with 24 hours notice. So it's just, if they're flying regularly, then it certainly merits the conversation of, do they want to make that process a little bit easier,
Right.
and have more predictability. And also from a budget perspective, when you're purchasing 50 hours at a fixed price, they know exactly what their cost is, so they can really budget for the year. And certainly a lot of corporations like that, for obvious reasons, to be able to just say, okay, this is how much we flew last year, we can allocate X amount of budget to that this year, and just have that fixed solution in place.
Right. Now, I recall on your website you list the prices for your on-demand charter, typically tens of thousands of dollars, I believe, if I recall
Yep.
seeing it properly. And jet membership, what's the pricing of that typically?
Sure. So the entry level jet membership is going to run around $5,000 an hour, and that's for a light jet. Your typical light jet seating is 6 to 7 passengers, and from a mission perspective, you're looking at right around 3 hours of range on the aircraft. So that's the starting point, and then it really varies. The middle ground, which would be like a mid-size aircraft, those run right around $7,000 an hour. The Challenger 300 is running at $9,300 an hour, and then a Gulfstream 450, which is a large cabin, which can go from New York to Europe nonstop, and certainly the cabin and how many seats also has a lot of great luggage space. That one's going to come with a flight attendant. So that's for whether it's we were just talking earlier about it, but an IPO roadshow allows passengers to be able to move about the cabin freely, have meetings during their mission. But the Gulfstream 450, I believe, is about $12,500 per hour.
Okay. And for these rates, now when you say membership, it means the membership for you to have access to the entire plane that you're buying in advance, right? As opposed to just having a seat on the plane.
Yes. So yeah, exactly. So ours is that is allowing you to have access to the entire plane. We don't sell per seat. And one of the pillars of our business, which I mentioned, solutions for life, and purely private, and then customer advocates. Those are the 3 pillars of our business model. So that purely private experience, where it's completely customizable, completely unique to our passengers, for from an experience perspective, certainly from a privacy perspective, but and just again for the missions, a lot of the reasons why people use private aviation, it's not so much the glitz and the glamour and the champagne and caviar that I think is a misconception of the usage, but the primary, the majority of the usage is it's a lot of corporations and flying into places that they would not be able to fly, on a commercial airline. Flying, for instance, like we have access to over 5,000 airports in the U.S., whereas commercially, I think it's close to like 2,000.
Right.
So it just allows companies, a lot of manufacturing companies, but it allows, our customers to really maximize their time and be very efficient in the way that they're using business travel.
Right. And when you talk about hours, like $5,000 per hour for your smallest jet, is that actual time in the air, or does that also include the time on the ground?
Great question. So that is just time in the air. So on our jet membership program, it's billed point to point. Our customers do not pay for any repositioning time. So it's just from their departure airport to their arrival airport, flight time. There's 6 minutes of taxi time, which is billed per leg. So, essentially if you have a 3-hour trip, you're going to be billed at 3.2. But yeah, it's your flight time, times your hourly rate, whatever aircraft category that you have a membership in. And it works similar like a debit card where, if you start at 50 hours and you take a 3-hour trip, now your account has 47 hours. Each month our members receive their monthly statements, and it shows the routings that they flew, the number of hours that were billed, the type of aircraft, if there were any upgrades or anything like that. So from a budgeting perspective, makes it very easy, very streamlined to keep track of that.
And how do you maintain the branding? Do they feel like they're flying on a Magellan jet, or the plane is however it is when they get on it?
Sure. So quality control is a great question, a great topic, because in the marketplace there are certainly a lot of companies that have a very inconsistent approach, and consistency again is one of the really important decisions, and one of the important features that our customers are really looking for. There's probably 3,000 operators. An operator that's who manages the plane, who operates the aircraft, and those are the partners that we work with. So, there's close to 3,000 of them, and our Magellan Jets Preferred Network, it's probably closer to about 95 of them. So we're very selective. We have a jet-specific membership, so we have to ensure that our partners' fleets and the fleet makeups are very much in line with the memberships that we sell. So that could, from a quality control perspective, the very first thing that we're looking at is safety, which is the most important piece of that, and then certainly the consistency of the fleet, age of the fleet, all of our internally we have tail number ratings and scorecards, and if that number goes below a certain number, then that aircraft will be removed from our standards and from our Magellan Jet Preferred Network. So it is very important that to maintain that consistency, and that's one of the big reasons why we actually chose to go to a jet specific product offering, which again, I'm trying to think, there's not many companies in our space that actually do that. Some of the fractional all the fractional providers do that, like your NetJets, like your FlexJet, but there aren't too many membership companies I can think of that actually offer specific aircraft. It's usually category, where like it's a light jet or a mid-sized jet, or but when you're doing it by category, it's very difficult, right, as a consumer, because in a mid-sized category you have a Citation Excel, you have a Lear 60, you have a Hawker 800 XP, all three aircraft in the same mid-sized category, but luggage is very different in all three of those planes. The aircraft performance in terms of range is very different, where a Citation Excel, you have about 4 hours of range, but then on the Hawker 800 XP you have just over 5 hours of range. So it becomes very difficult for the passengers to really plan if they don't know what's going to show up.
Right.
How much luggage do they bring? Are they going to need a fuel stop? So what time should they depart? So to reel that back and really make sure that we're providing consistency with our product offering. That was one of the big drivers of where we said, you know what, we're going to go jet specific and choose our partners accordingly. And, that means dealing with a lot less partners, but we really believe that that's the only way to maintain that quality control.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, the airlines do that as well, right? They standardize on the planes they fly because it makes life easier for them.
Absolutely. Becomes very efficient.
Yeah. Now, what about the look, though? I mean, it doesn't say Magellan Jets on the outside of the plane, of course, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely, it does not. So there aren't too many, companies that I'm trying to think. Even like NetJets, there's not much branding going on in the airplane. Just from a cosmetic look, it would just be a little bit strange. So certain companies have consistent paint schemes and that sort of thing. But the partners that we work with, the aircraft that we utilize, for the most part, are privately owned, whether it's a corporation, a corporate flight department, or just a high net individual. So, but again, one of the big things that we look to do is certainly through our jet specific program is just really maintain the consistency. So the good thing about being having a jet specific product is, so for instance, there's about 110 Challenger 300s in our network, and Bombardier, the manufacturer Challenger, they only offer two interior configurations. The colors, generally speaking, the colors are really consistent in the cabin, but there's certainly, like, again, from our preferred network, if I think about the 110 Challenger 300s, I would say 80% of them have the exact same interior configuration.
Right.
So again, that being that jet specific does help us to keep that consistent, where the customers getting onto an airplane. Same thing with the Hawker 800 XP. I would say 95% of the Hawker 800 XPs in our program have the exact same configuration. So getting on, it looks the same, it feels the same. There isn't a huge variation, similar to, if you fly, if you're flying on Southwest, I forget, what do they use? The A320, I think. But if you fly two different airlines, JetBlue or Southwest, the flight attendant uniforms, you can certainly tell the paint, but once you're in the airplane, there's not much going on inside that's going to, where you're really going to understand, it's, the seats are generally the same, the carpets are generally the same, and then obviously the sidewalls and everything. So it's very similar to that, how the private jet manufacturers are outfitting. It's really the paint schemes are really the only big differences.
Right. Got it. So your business grew fairly rapidly, 19.2 million in 2014. 3 years later, you almost doubled it. Fourth year, you were flat. What were the three drivers behind the growth in your business from 2014 to 2017?
Well, the first driver, which is one of our most important metrics to date, and it's something that we heavily invested in last year, and where I really believe is going to push us close to that $50 million mark this year, is retention. A lot of companies and entrepreneurs focus on new business, and it's very difficult to grow if you're walking a customer in the front door and then showing them the back door. It's almost like a bucket with too many holes in it. It's impossible to fill. And so certainly the focus for us is retention. And the higher our retention, we see more referrals, more repeat business, client lifetime value, and certainly revenue per customer, and how much they're spending. They're buying multiple products. So that's really helped us out in just, focusing on the customer experience and ensuring that that we're very easy to do business with, and they're having a very, personalized experience, and they feel like when they're stepping on that plane, that it's, the mission is all about them, the experience is all about them, and we're really making that very simple. Certainly the people, we've invested heavily in the people in our organization, having the right, people sit in the right seats, and certainly, we had to make some transitions through that large growth. There's certainly, very large difference from, doing, like you said, the 19 million to close to 40 million. A lot of challenges, a lot of hurdles, a lot of learning, a lot of expensive lessons happening through that transition. But having a core group of people that that really take care of our other colleagues internally, and then in turn take care of our customers, has been absolutely crucial. And I had to name a third driver. I would say brand, our brand positioning. Staying away from all the noise. There's, if you look at our business, our industry, there's, there was a big buzz around, ride sharing and that sort of thing. And, we've really stayed the course. We know who our customer is, and who the customer we like to serve. And, as I mentioned earlier, the three pillars of our business that we just focus on and stay course is purely private, customer advocates, and providing solutions for life. And we believe if we keep it simple, and really just focus on being really great at those three things, then we'll continue to have the type of growth that you mentioned.
Right. So when you talk about retention, you're talking about retention mostly of your charter customers or retention of your membership members?
Both. Really, one is not more important than the other. Retention and client lifetime value, whether somebody's doing a charter with us or a membership, is equally important.
Okay.
We have charter customers that have been with us for 10 years and continue to fly and continue to refer. And the other interesting piece is in the last 5 years, 40% of our members started out chartering with us. So the retention of our charter customers actually is actually fueling our growth on the membership side.
Right.
So it's really important to keep them, keep our customers and keep them reordering when they're in charter, because, at some point they may have an interest in membership. And, when we talk about solutions for life, it's very interesting because we work with a lot of entrepreneurs, we work with a lot of CEOs and business owners, and it's really, really interesting to watch their businesses grow and their portfolios change. So being able to sit on the same side of the table with them and be a part of that and provide solutions that really grow with them has also attributed to our success. And again, that retention piece of, the on-demand charter is almost, them dipping their toe in and, not kind of fully jumping in, but getting to experience it. And then, we want to make sure that we're maintaining them, keeping them. And if a jet membership or an aircraft acquisition makes sense for them later down the line, then they already know, like, and trust us and, rely on us to help guide them through that process.
Right. How much of your revenue right now is coming from each of the three businesses that you have, the charter flights, the jet membership, and the aircraft buying and selling?
Mm-hmm. So I would say about 97% of the revenue is charter and membership. We do, I would say probably about 2 or 3, whether it's helping customers get rid of airplanes or purchase new ones. So that's a very small piece. Okay. And that's more, again, just to help guide them through that process because, they've been with us and we know them
Yep.
and we know their family and we know their trips. But from the other 97% is almost 50-50 between charter and membership. It's probably 55-45 charter to membership.
Right.
So it's a pretty even split. And again, and that's where I said retention is equally as important on both business lines.
Yeah, definitely. Now, for people to become a member, is there a cost incentive, price incentive? Like if you become a member and you prepay 50 hours, it's less expensive than booking 50 hours normally. Is that the value by being a member?
Again, it all really depends on the customer, and our consultant's job is to sit down with our customers and really provide an analysis on their travel. So, and the reason it depends is if somebody is flying to obscure locations where there aren't a lot of aircraft, then a membership could make sense because you're not paying any repositioning fees. You're just paying from point to point.
Right. But did they want your charter option? Did they pay repositioning fees?
Yes. Yep. So in charter, so the charter market is, and it's also variable pricing. So it's extremely difficult from a budget perspective to really know ahead of time what you're going to be paying because it's all market driven. So, during, we call it high volume days, let's just say like the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, where, everyone from the Northeast is is going down to the Southeast. So on a high volume day like that, when you're on a charter basis, it's all supply and demand, and right. Supply is very, very low on high volume days. So the pricing goes through the roof, and on charter, you may be paying, on a non high volume day, you could be paying $10,000 to go from New York to Florida, and for the same exact aircraft, where where supply is where demand is higher than supply, you might be paying $17,000. So to have a swing of that magnitude, it's very difficult to plan.
Yep.
So and that's usually where again when folks are flying 25, 50 hours, to have that variable, it sometimes is just it's frustrating. It can be frustrating. It's frustrating, or it could be difficult to plan. So they prefer to have just the fixed price, know exactly what it is, and not have to, do the back and forth.
Right.
Scheduling flights is also a lot easier on a membership because everything's prepaid. You have your hours. All you're really doing is just scheduling the flight. We have a flight support team and a membership success team, and they're just saying, hey, I want to go from here to here, and 10 minutes later they have an itinerary and they know the type of plane and it's all scheduled. Whereas in charter, you need to go into the market and see what's available because
right.
So it's a little bit of a different model.
So for those Wednesday flights right before Thanksgiving, can your members book flights on that date? And I imagine the operators, of course, might not be super thrilled, right? Because now they're doing a flight member rate as opposed to the triple rate that they could get from someone else who's desperate to get home.
Well, I wish that was the case. So, as for us, when we give a membership rate, that's us assuming the risk. So we on the back end are, we're playing the market. We're also going, we have key vendors where we'll do block purchasing. So we'll purchase, a set amount of hours or a set amount of days of availability, where we're just going to kind of connect the dots and move the plane around ourselves. And we certainly do that on high volume so that we can control cost, and not have ourselves in the same position as, your typical charter customer. But from the operator's perspective, not really. And, we maintain pretty consistent pricing, because of the volume that we do. And also, we're selecting a much smaller group of operators. So we're a lot more valuable to, we don't spread ourselves too thin.
Mm-hmm.
So we maintain the relationships and keep the business with, a select group of operators. And can that, or does that cost Magellan, our cost of goods is probably impacted by doing that. However, the consistency and the retention and client lifetime value, I believe, makes up the difference of me having to go out and pay a little bit more for newer planes or, some of the nicer planes in the marketplace, or not going and working with a larger group of operators. So, there's give and take there, but the brand, the consistency, the retention, I believe is higher value rather than, going to a smaller company or an older airplane and, saving, 5%. I'd rather make it up by, through a referral or something like that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the key is to keep the irritation factor as low as possible, right? And people are going to get irritated if they can't get a flight. They're going to get irritated if the flight's 4 times more expensive than normal, even though it's high season and so on. Right? It's still an irritation. If you can just eliminate that irritation factor, I could see why people would stick around longer and fly more and refer more, right? I think, subjectively, qualitatively, I would say that would benefit you in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit it on the head with the irritation, right? Because the amount, the premium that our customers pay for this service is substantially more expensive than flying commercial.
Oh yeah.
So your expectation, to your point, is really should be higher, right? Because that's what they're paying for.
Yeah.
And we understand that and we appreciate that. And so we make sure we deliver on that promise.
Yeah. So for your 90 some odd partners you have, the flight operators, are they doing all of their flights with you? Is that how busy you keep them?
No, nope. And these, the fleet size really ranges anywhere from on the small side, 10 aircraft. And we have partners that have 150 aircraft. So it's probably, I would say, close to 2,000 aircraft. And it's situated all around the country because, we guarantee our members a plane anywhere in the U.S. within 8 hours notice. So we need to make sure that our network is spread out throughout the country. So certain pockets, the Northeast, the Southeast, California, Texas has certainly been a big growth market for us. So those concentrations certainly see a lot more of our business just because we have a lot more business in those regions. So they supply lift also for their own owners. As I mentioned, some of these are actually corporate flight departments for large companies, so they're providing their own executive teams with lift. So essentially what we're doing is we're almost filling the gaps or purchasing the excess capacity of their own usage.
Right. So as you're describing how your model works, I kept on thinking, you're kind of like an Uber Black type service in a way, right? The luxury end, the higher end, utilizing the jets that are out there that would be sitting on the ground, right? Were it not for you being able to get them up in the air.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a good comparison in terms of the excess capacity. The level of due diligence and quality control certainly has to be a lot more consistent for some of the reasons that we talked about earlier.
Yep.
But yeah, from an excess capacity and partner network, it's the same type of model. Absolutely.
Yep. And then for the second driver, you talk about people, investing heavily in people. How many people do you have now on your team?
I think we're about 40 or 40. We're usually right between 40 to 45.
Okay. And when you say investing heavily, what does that mean when you say investing heavily in people?
Sure. So heavily, when I say heavily, and it's certainly starts with the hiring process, and making sure that before we get into the person's technical capabilities, the the most important thing is it a core value fit, um, and making sure that they're going to fit into our core values, which um, which are gonna, our team is, we're in aviation, and when everybody else wants to take a vacation, that's when our customers are relying on us. So, our operation is 24/7, 365, and our office is staffed 24 hours a day. So our people work very closely together, and it's a very collaborative um, environment here, and sometimes it can be very stressful.
Yep.
In terms of there's situations where an aircraft has a mechanical, or there could be situations where evacuations happen, yeah, regularly.
Hmm.
Last year, all the hurricanes that happened down in South Florida, it was unbelievable, the amount of evacuations that we were doing. And so it's really, really important that for us, that first and foremost, we have the right people sitting in the right seats.
Right.
So when I say the heavily invested, we also invest heavily in training. Our flight support team have been through the Ritz-Carlton Ritz-Carlton Five Diamond, or I can't remember the exact name of it. And they've all received ongoing training. My flight support team are all FAA certificated pilots, which is, I believe, we're the only company in our model that actually does that. And then so what we did essentially is, from an operations perspective, our flight support team, they're the execution piece to my business, where they're providing our customers with their itineraries, they're doing feasibility checks on their flights, background checks on the flight crew that are assigned to the trips, weather briefings, making sure that the aircraft and the runway and the weights and what the mission is for, it's from a safety feasibility perspective. And then they're also the front line with our customers throughout their experience. So we took pilots and we train them, and we continue ongoing to train them on customer service.
Right.
Because it's you can imagine how difficult it would be to hire customer service people and try to train them on aviation.
Right.
So that's an ongoing, continuous process. And we've also made, in terms of from a management team perspective, heavily invested in our management team, and continuing to give them the support and training that they need. So, there's a very large emphasis here in our organization, just in terms of ongoing training, and making sure that our colleagues have a fun, safe, and enjoyable experience here. Because again, the work-life balance in aviation can be challenging, because again, our customers are calling on us on not just a Tuesday morning when they want to go down. It could be an IPO, it can be all different types of events, whether it could be a wedding, it could be a funeral, it could be all these very important and unique experiences. That's when they rely on us, and that's when the pressure's on.
Right.
So having the right people here, and making sure that they're fully trained, and making sure that they're having a great experience, and making sure that they enjoy the colleagues that they're working with. is just really, really important. We put a huge emphasis and we invested very heavily in that.
Yep. Now, when I look at your revenue figure, right, 38 million last year, that's the value of the charter flights, right? And then the way it works is that your company gets a commission, I guess, a cut of that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how it works?
Yeah, so it's our our revenue is a little strange the way it works because we also the membership piece is also something that we like. Our membership sales we don't report in our revenue, right? So we did last year, I think, around 16 or 17 million in membership sales. Now we don't add that to when we talk revenue, we're just really talking about the flights flown. So we're not counting, because to us we actually look at our membership sales as deferred revenue.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So so when we're talking revenue, like when I say we expect to do 45 to 50 million this year, that's in flights flown. And then what we continue to do to continue to drive that funnel is invest in our membership product because we can. I believe we can really hit the 20, 25 million, 30 million is in my pipeline in terms of membership sales. And once we get there, that's where we'll see the flights flown revenue really increase.
Right.
2 weeks from now, we're actually May 1st, we're launching a completely relaunch of our membership offering, which we've really spent a lot of time in evaluating other products in the marketplace, evaluating our own product offering, interview customers, interview members, and we're really excited about the product that we're coming out with. It's the whole premise of it is really making it simple to do business, really making it simple to understand. Some of these products out there, whether it be a fractional or they have it can be very tricky to understand what you're buying. Companies have blackout days where you have a membership and certain days you can't even fly, peak surcharges and penalties for interchanging into other products. So the new product offering that we're launching, and not to muddy the waters too much, is really designed to take away all that guessing and really remove obstacles or hurdles for the consumer, and again just provide a very simple, consistent and reliable membership product.
Right.
We're really excited about that.
Yeah, membership's probably the wave of the future, right? Both for businesses and the consumers, because you can offer more value, and also from the consistency you get, it also enables you to deliver more value than a non-subscription business.
Exactly, and we really believe that to be true. And some of the legacy companies in our space have had the same model, and the fractional model has been around forever, and we really believe it's becoming a thing of the past. And certainly that membership model, as you made the comparison to Uber earlier, and I really believe that the millennial generation, as they continue to grow, they're less about owning assets, so they're not the ones sitting on an underutilized asset. You look at HomeAway and Airbnb and all of these companies. It's people want to use something for the time that they need it and then walk away.
Yeah.
And just be done with it. And fractional ownership does not allow you to do that. You have your monthly management fees, whether you fly or not. You're locked in usually for anywhere for 3 to 5 years. So very difficult to, again, budget, or, most customers don't know how many hours they're going to fly 3 years from now.
Yeah.
And that's that's very difficult. So that makes that model, there's a lot of obstacles in that model. And I believe that, if you look at our industry, I've been in the industry for about 18 or 19 years now, and there's only two fractional companies left. And so that, for me, certainly gives me a lot of excitement in terms of our growth and the model that that we're sticking to, and the product offering that we're launching, because I believe that um, fractional owners will continue to to migrate over to the simplicity and the flexibility of the Jet membership.
Yeah, definitely. Now, sales were flat in 2018, right? You're about the same, not excluding your membership sales, which aren't in your figures, but at least for the charter side of things, things were flat at 38 million in 2017, 38 million in 2018. What happened there?
Yeah. So interestingly, and in 2018, we actually brought in 200, actually no, 176 is the actual number, 176 new customers. But what we also did in 2018, and you mentioned the amount of growth that we had, 2014, 15, 16. And when I mentioned we made a lot of expensive mistakes, that was true from my supply side. That was true from my people side. Certainly, it's very difficult to when things are moving that quickly. You're making decisions on the fly, and some are decisions that are with not much experience behind it, and you learn from these experiences and you grow. But also from the customer side. So we were at a point in our business, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of businesses, certainly in their infancy years, have a tendency to say yes to everything. And it's actually how we got this business off the ground. Is saying yes to every deal, and figuring out how to make it happen, and we certainly do that. But it's very difficult to scale a business that way.
Yep.
It's very difficult to scale a process, and as you start to do more, not revenue but more transactions, whatever your business is, if you're all things to all people, then your focus is not there. So we focused a lot on 2018, certainly in our own people, but also looking at accounts and whether it was memberships or customers that just didn't work for us. And that was a very difficult decision. And that's a very scary decision as an entrepreneur, to say no, or to say, unfortunately, this isn't a good fit for us. And that was the first time we've ever done that in the business. And it was a very amazing experience, I'll tell you.
Right.
And I belong to some different entrepreneur groups and mastermind groups, and and I've always heard other entrepreneurs talk about it, and but you kind of always sit there and, oh, I'll never do that, or that's crazy. But you do get to a certain point in the business, and numbers don't lie, and again, when you have a good team of people around you, and certainly I would say a focus, when you talk about investment in people, certainly a strong finance department is critical. They bring information to you that you can't avoid, and you can't say no, that won't be me, because in order to grow, you have to make those decisions. As a business owner and entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So that had a lot to do with it as well. But profitability is up, and and that's your net profit and your profitability are sometimes more important than your revenue. And
Oh, yeah.
revenue drive revenue drives ego and net profit drives results. So
Yeah.
that was our focus in 2018.
Yeah, another interview I did with another company, they did the same exact thing. They realized some clients were not a good fit, and 1 year they let them go. They referred them to other providers, and yeah, they took a hit on the top line, but their profitability went up, right? Because those clients that went elsewhere were sucking up a huge amount of their resources and
Absolutely
taking away the ability for them to serve other clients in a better way, in a more helpful way. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And the whole process was actually a great learning experience for us as a company. And we actually we implemented that experience into our training for our aviation consultants to ensure that didn't happen again, or put us in a position like that again. And just actually a few weeks ago, I was involved in a similar experience where that was the answer was, this actually is not a good fit for us, but here's two companies that, we feel as though will probably be a better solution for you and can execute this. So it's interesting, but, I'll tell you the same thing I actually told that particular customer is, I would much prefer to lose a deal before it happens than to damage a relationship, because I took the deal.
Yeah.
And, when you say, no, we're not a good fit, but still help and consult in the right fashion, then, in my experience, you still get referrals from that. You won't have anyone out there, saying, oh, this is who I do business with, they don't deliver or anything like that. So we're more than happy to just, consult our customers the best way we can. And sometimes that means it's consulting them to use something else, and that's okay.
Yep. So for 2019, what are your plans? What are your targets? What's the biggest challenge that you need to overcome to get there?
So our plans, as I mentioned earlier, we've put a huge focus on retention, which has been outstanding. We've watched our referrals go up since we've done that, and certainly our client lifetime value is directly impacted by that. Our future forward, and what we're working on, some of the larger things is, I mentioned, making it easier to do business with us is a huge focus. So we've made a lot of internal changes. The launch of our new membership May 1st has been a lot of work, a lot of man hours, and the team that executed on that has just been outstanding here. And then the next piece to that, in terms of making it easier to do business, is the way our customers interact with us. So our application and customer login is the next big project that we're involved in right now. That will provide customers with an easy way to schedule flights, order catering, add passengers, pay for flights, make changes, get weather updates, get alerts, all of those things. So that's the big thing that we're working on right now from a tech perspective, and okay. That's pretty exciting. So we kind of have been prepping for that with some of these other things that we've been doing in terms of retention and customer loyalty rewards and those sort of things, and then taking those and applying that to a application, because I'm a big believer that technology is not just build it and they will come. It's really about having a great product, having really great people, and then enabling those great people with technology.
Right.
So
now, do you have a formalized process to proactively make it easy for your customers to provide you with a referral? Oh,
yeah, absolutely. We have our our members and customers, they actually get flight credits for referring. There's actually on our membership contracts or agreements, there's actually a place that they can fill out. They also have landing pages where they'll get a link, and they brings it right to a landing page, and they can actually put in the customers or their family, friends, or colleagues. They can refer right through the portal. So that's another way. And then a lot of it just they'll actually just make the introduction to their aviation consultant. That's a big way to do it. And then certainly when the app is complete, they'll have an extremely easy way to do it right through the app.
Right. How about from a marketing and sales perspective? What sort of challenges does your team need to overcome to get new customers on board, get new memberships?
From a sales and marketing perspective, I think we do a really, in a probably a little bit biased perspective, but even just talking to a lot of other of the owners in my space, we do a fairly good job with we're heavy on content, video. We're doing some rebranding and redesign of content and website right now, mainly because of the launch that we have on May 1st. We're heavy on the marketing piece in terms of whether it's paid search, recapture marketing. We have a very strong inbound marketing strategy that we've had in place for probably 5 or 6 years. We continue to, it continues to evolve just like all the areas of our business. We had a great first quarter. We're on pace to bring in, I believe, about 250 new accounts this year, which certainly is going to support a nice growth year for us. We're always looking at, what's new, what's, the trends in marketing. We have an internal marketing department. We don't outsource that piece. Tried that for 9 months, and that was a challenge would be an understatement. We prefer to keep it in house. And again, when we talk, culture is a big part of our company, and so to have a marketing team that fits the culture and is in the culture and is interacting with the colleagues, all the time, it really helps to deliver that message and deliver, that the same culture and core values inside, and they're delivering it outside through content.
Right. Yeah. From my tools, I see that you're spending a good chunk of change, 5 digits a month on pay-per-click ads. And I can see how that can get some individual folks looking to do a charter flight. But I don't imagine the corporates who have their own jets that might be underutilized are searching so much on Google for charter flights, right? Because they have their own flights in-house. So how are you going about finding these corporate companies, these companies that have planes that are kind of literally lying around that you can utilize for them?
Yeah, so there's tools that we're able to access. So there's companies like JetNet. There's companies. There's another one called Amstat. So these are companies similar to your car. You have a license plate on your car. If somebody types in your license plate, or and I guess in our world, if a police officer types in your license plate, then all your information comes up. And a tail number on an airplane is just like the license plate of your car. So we have access to services, the two I mentioned, what's it called, JetNet and Amstat, where it's very similar to that, where a tail number you enter in, and that supplies you with, whether it's a corporate flight department or chief pilot, or whoever is managing or handling that aircraft. And aircraft owners are a large portion of our customer base. So it's not just where we get lift. Aircraft owners are always in need of a company like us for, scheduled maintenance events, unscheduled maintenance events, If they're cruising training, if they're cruising, they get a new crew in, they have to get conformed to the airplane. That takes time. So we actually do a lot of, filtering through those resources in order to prospect and form new relationships. But yeah, paid search is definitely, and it's surprising. I'm actually surprised at the amount of corporate business that we do get from paid search. A very important piece of paid search, as I'm sure you know, is the quality of the search terms that you're implementing, and making sure that you're continuing to A/B test and you're continuing to monitor your results. I think where a lot of entrepreneurs kind of go stagnant is they stop paying attention to it, or they leave, they leave the same keywords up all the time. We're analyzing ours every 2 weeks, changing them, updating them, taking down what doesn't work, investing heavier on what does work. So it's just like anything else, what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. And that doesn't, just putting a big dollar amount to it is not going to always get you the results that you want in terms of conversion. So,
right.
We spend extremely heavily, but it does, for us, it yields outstanding results, and we'll keep on spending as long as we keep on getting that, the ROI back.
Yeah.
So we're comfortable.
Yeah. From what you share with me, it doesn't sound like you have any big marketing challenges or sales challenges.
No, I mean, there's any company that doesn't have challenges is either not giving you the full truth, or they're just not growing. So when I look at challenges, we internally we call them opportunities, because now it's an opportunity to make a change to something, or do something that that could have impact on our growth. So we would literally be here all day if I'm just trying to think. But again, we have a very solid team, and challenges come up every day, Malcolm. And we actually form issues lists for every department, and that issues list, it's called the issue/opportunity list, is never empty. Right. In any department, because we continue to solve on the fly. Sure.
So what's the biggest opportunity on your list right now?
The biggest opportunity that I'm excited about right now, I think, is the relaunch of our membership program, the customer application. So yeah, I would say that has me the most excited. Our retention the last couple of quarters has just been outstanding. So as I look at the new product offering we're going to market with, the retention is exciting, because what we're getting ready to do right now is put more folks into that bucket.
Sure.
And we'll reap the benefit of that, probably more so in the next, I would say, 12 to 18 months. That won't happen, certainly the next 2 or 3 quarters. But that should put us in a very, very good position, Q1, Q2 of 2020.
Okay. And how are you going to get the word out about the new relaunch of the membership program? Is it just to your current charter flyers, or are you going to get it, tell the world, everyone about it?
We're going to tell the world.
Okay.
So we have a launch campaign that is all structured out. So that's going to be a variety and that's being executed by my director of marketing and my PR firm. But so it's a combination of paid search, PR, certainly our internal customers, and aligning the new product offering with a great referral incentive, so they can, our customers and our members are sometimes our best salespeople, so they'll certainly help spread the word. We'll incentivize them to do so for us. Our sales team, I have 15 sales consultants, and they do a great job. And we're doing recapture ads. We're doing LinkedIn ads. We have a nice B2B strategy to specifically target the corporate. So I saw on the list, there were on the campaign, there were about 10 or 12 channels in which the, everything from drip campaigns on emails. And so it's well planned. And as you know, any plan is, the execution piece of the plan is the most critical. So I've seen the plan, and I'm extremely confident in the team that we have in place to execute it.
Yeah, and many of your teammates are pilots, right? So they're really big on planning, make sure it's good to go before you start flying. So
absolutely,
right.
Absolutely.
So I guess 3 last questions I have for you, Anthony.
Sure.
If you were to have a billboard message somewhere for Magellan jets, what would that billboard say? And keep in mind that most people only have 6 seconds before they drive by a billboard, so you need a pretty snappy message for them.
If I had a billboard, I think it would say "Solutions for Life."
Okay. Solutions for life. Maybe air transport.
That would be the tagline. Of course, Magellan jets, and then solutions for life.
Right. Your solutions, you would say, are more air transportation solutions, right? More than anything else. Or is there are you solving another problem that's more important, but not as obvious as travel by air?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting point. So we are solving many, and I don't know, not always problems, but whether it's time is a lot of, and time is our most valuable asset as humans.
Yeah.
Because the clock's always ticking, and we're only allotted a certain amount of time, and we can't, no matter how much money you have, your time, you can't extend it by your bank account size. So I'd say one of the most important things that we do for our customers is we make their time more efficient. That may be, making sure that they're home with their family, or they're allowing themselves to go away with their family. The solutions for life piece is interesting, because we're always thinking of, how do we add value to our customer? And, one of the things that we've done in the past is that's, certainly been a nice driver for us, is the college tours. And people, when we came out with college tour packages, there was a lot of press around it with us, and certain reporter, oh well, why, this is too glamorous, and what they didn't understand is, this is business aviation, and 90% of our customers are business people. And so for an executive or an entrepreneur, I would say, I probably put in 70 hours a week, 80 hours a week. And, to have that work-life balance is extremely difficult. So even when we did the college tours, and, what I would explain to a lot of members of the press is that this isn't about, arriving in style or arriving in luxury. This is a very important time in a parent's life, and being present is not always possible for an executive or an entrepreneur. And that's what we're bringing, is we're allowing them to, where, if you do a college, if you're going to see 6 or 7 colleges, that could take commercially, that could take 2 or 3 weeks. But we can make that happen in a weekend. So that the parents are present, and we just make that process a lot easier. So it's just really like thinking about our customers and thinking about different pain points in their lives, and how do we make that easier, and how do we provide them with more time, which is their biggest asset.
Yeah.
So that's where we find pleasure, and I make it a habit to read every single survey after every flight that we do. Our customers receive a survey right to their phone. Quick 3 or 4 questions, and then there's a notes box.
Yep.
And some of the notes that come back when time is of the essence, when it's a big event in their life. And again, sometimes it's the birth of a child, sometimes it's unfortunately the death of a family member.
Yep.
But being there for them and being a part of that, where they can rely on us, and hearing some of that feedback is just it's what gets me out of bed every morning.
Yep. So do you do the Net Promoter Score survey? And if yes, what's your score?
We have a 4.83 out of 5 is our, and this is, I'm just talking Q1, and that wasn't even a setup question, but we just went through our Q1 results a couple of days ago. But yeah, our Q1 survey score was 4.83, and we had a 90% perfection rate. When I say perfection rate, that means 90% of the flights went with zero interruption.
Right.
In terms of from start to finish, which is great.
Nice, good numbers there. And then final questions. Who are your ideal charter customers and members, and what's the best way for them to contact your team?
Sure. So our ideal customers and members are certainly C-level execs, corporations, entrepreneurs, and high net worth individuals. We work a lot with athletes, celebrities, studios, and the customers that fit our mold are really those that are looking for reliability, consistency, and in a purely private environment, and focused on relationships, and that's what we focus on. And they can reach us on the websites, www.magellanjets.com, and that's the easiest way. We're here.
All right, awesome. Anthony, it's been great having you on my show today. I really enjoyed hearing how you grew your company so fast.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and great conversation. Appreciate the discussion.
We've been speaking with Anthony Tivnan, the president of Magellan Jets, about his company's rapid growth. For interviews with other fast-growing, high-value sales companies, or to learn how we can accelerate your firm's high-value sales through automation, visit eversprint.com.